is probably not the normal thought that people would use for stuff like this, but I'm going to say having children has been one of the biggest challenges for me. When I ready to write my song, I nursery rhymes that come up. Just a testimony. Even the EP launch, there's so many doors I tried to knock on that just got shut on me. There's so many people that said, you know, it doesn't make no sense, yeah, keep something now, nobody don't remember you. Or people that say, you know, the industry has moved on, or there's just so much negative talk, and you know, you have to be grounded to just say, I know what God has called me for, so I'm going to do it anyways. And even with this EP, part of what I wanted to do as well was to encourage some of my brothers, some of my sisters who probably started doing music around the same time as me, or before or after. And I really have a strong feeling that God, you know, is not done with you yet, brother. He's not done with you yet. And when you think back to that point, you're at your lowest and God brought you through. But who's going to stop him from doing it again?
I'm Brian.
And I'm Charmian Marie.
And we're the Beatles. Join us weekly. Let's talk about purpose, faith, and expression.
Purpose Audacity is dedicated to sowing seeds of healing, growth, and impact through the sharing of real stories, real thoughts, and biblical truth. Whether it's through conversations with Brian and Charmian Marie or with our specially invited guests.
For God's glory.
This is Purposed Audacity. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Purposed Audacity. It is such a privilege to be here with you and to have you here with us sharing, you know, as we, you know, gather to share stories and testimonies that will indeed impact and inspire others to, you know, walk in purpose and walk by faith and truly embrace God-given expressions. So with that said, today we have an extra special guest and, you know, the special guest recently launched their EP, had a grand show and just the works, right? But we want to actually get to know more of, you know, this person's story and also about the EP that would have just been launched. And then also to just have more of a discussion surrounding the theme, you know, staying the course amid changing seasons. So with all of that said, I want you to help me to welcome Minister Blessed. Thank you so much for being here, Minister Blessed.
Hey, Charmian, good to be here. Hey, to the PAJE family, it's always a pleasure.
All right, fabulous, cool. So with that said, let us just go ahead and get started. You know, I mean, clearly we are not strangers. We, like, PAJE has really been, you know, taking note of your journey for so long, right? And it's just definitely a beauty to see you, you know, push forward and journey and stuff, even though you did take a little, you know, step back, but we're gonna talk about it, right? So with that said, again, congratulations on launching such an amazing project, an amazing EP, and doing it in fine style. And so, and with that said, you know, what is it that, you know, led you to say that this is exactly how you wanted to, like, come back on the scene? I'm just really curious about that.
Yeah, so it's a couple of things, but you know, it definitely starts with God first of all. So, you know, I really felt empowered by the Holy Spirit that this is my season, this is my time to come and make a comeback. And I have come back to Jamaica a few times to do events since I've gone, but the last time I was back before this was 2019. So, you know, that's 5 years. So I felt like coming back and just doing that event wasn't good enough, and I felt like you know, I just felt the Lord calling me to do something a bit more on a larger scale. And the thing which is interesting as well is normally when people do an EP, you know, people don't normally make a lot of noise about EP. They just, you know, just put a few tracks online and they hear that this artist have an EP and that's it. People only really make steps when it comes to like an album. You know, people launch albums, but nobody really launches an EP. And I actually felt like, you know, why not? You know, if God has given you something to bless the people with and it's on your heart, why not share in a massive way, you know, that EP as well. So yeah, I just thought it would be good to come back not just with an event, but also with a new project.
I love that. And I mean, one thing about you always stood out, right? And so even you deciding to do this in this specific way, like, it doesn't surprise me, you know, and I really commend you for deciding that, yo, Like, I mean, as you said, not everybody launches an EP, they wait for the album, but you said, yo, like, whatever, you get me? Like, you know, so that's absolutely fabulous. And so, I mean, if you don't mind, I actually want to know, like, what would have caused the step back generally? I mean, yes, clearly you are not based in Jamaica anymore, you know, but what would have caused the step back generally? And also, what made you say that, all right, cool, this is the time for the return to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say I necessarily purposefully took a step back. You know, life happens. So, yeah, I wouldn't say I took a step back purposely. So I left Jamaica at the start of 2017. I was back in 2018 hosting my event. At the start of 2019, I was on Genesis. I was on Gospel Tenacity. I was on Praise Break. Later in 2019, I was back launching my album. We had plans to do events in 2020, both in the UK, the US, and, you know, we used to take it 1 year at a time, but there were plans. But the pandemic happened, and that was something nobody really foresaw. So that's literally what set me back personally. But even through that, what I found, and I wasn't doing this purposefully, but looking back from now till then, I've realized I've been releasing music every year. Like every single year, I've at least released one single. If I trace it back as far as 2012, maybe even before that, it's one single until we get to like an album, or, you know, my very first EP was 2022. So,
right,
you know, I would say the step back was more physical. I wasn't able to travel, you know, whether to Jamaica or other countries, I couldn't really travel. But even where I was, I started to do events there, which was a small island called Guernsey. So I started making, if you want to call it, bloom where you're planted. So, you know, I started being interviewed by the BBC, introducing music on that station. I was in the Guernsey Press. They came and covered the event. I was performing at, you know, their biggest locations that they have events at. So I kind of carved out a space for myself because it's not a Jamaican or a black community. So what I know, that kind of thing was like an Afro-Caribbean kind of flavor, and bring the Minister Blessed to it. So I never really took my foot off the gas. It's just that in terms of being physically in Jamaica, and obviously not with the local scene, then, you know, people would have said, oh, Minister Blessed God, you know, but, you know, God was using me in other areas as
right. Well, that's beautiful. God, I never knew half of that, you know, and that's commendable for the fact that you've been able to just carve out, you know, your space. And again, it's not surprising because you have always, you know, gone after what you want, and the Lord, I feel, has had you just on a unique journey, you know, when it comes to this ministry. And so I guess that, you know, for the fact that it wasn't deliberate in terms of your step back then, you know, it wasn't a thing of, okay, cool, let's wait another year, or, oh, this is the time, you know, it just kind of flowed, I would say.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, love that. So with that said, you know, I want to talk a little bit about the project, right? Tell us a little bit about the EP, if you can give us a general summary, because I don't want to give away too much for the persons who haven't listened yet. And also, you know, well, I mean, if you can give at least a track-by-track breakdown without giving too much away, that would be awesome as well.
Okay, I'll try. I feel like we could do an interview just about the EP, so I'm going to try to keep it top line. Right, so the EP, generally speaking, I think there are two big themes from it for me. One is it's just recognizing how great God is, how his sovereignty, you know, the fact that he is what them say, magnanimous, you know, just bigger than the whole universe. So the EP kicks off with one of the tracks that you featured, or that was featured in one of the top 10s in PAJE, you know, Caribbean songs or Jamaican songs. So it kicks off with Unstoppable, which is, you know, God is unstoppable, runs the whole universe, unstoppable, breaks every curse. So, you know, it starts off kicking off with God's sovereignty and just recognizing him for who he is. It then goes into a track that's talking again about how great God is, but it's a different kind of concept. It's a different concept, and part of this as well was trying to do things a little bit different. So even with God is unstoppable, I would sing God him unstoppable, run the whole universe him unstoppable. But then when it comes rounds again, I kind of unstoppable, you know, kind of switch it up a bit. And the same thing here with track 2, we go into a track called Heavyweight, and this is a collaboration with Shadow Vision. So again, it's conceptualizing almost like a boxing match, but while the other party would be depending on their physical powers. We're saying, you know, we have a God that is the heavyweight champion of the world, of the universe. So, you know, he's the heavyweight. So those two songs really speak to, you know, the God's sovereignty. Then I have a wild card on the EP. So it doesn't really fit into any theme, but it was a song that I felt God was calling me to do based on, you know, I'm in a position where I'm always getting, you know, people come to me for counseling, or, you know, just to say how they feel about how they were treated, whether by the church or by their spouse, or, you know, how friends are, etc. So this song is about treating people the way you want to be treated. And it's a reggae song. I haven't done a reggae song in probably 10 years. So, you know, so again, I wanted to bring back a flavor that I haven't done in a long time, as well as being much more mature with my sound now as well. So that's a song that, you know, can pretty much be played anywhere, because it's a practical song and saying, you know, how you for treat me. So you say you love me, and you beat me, so, you know, so it's that kind of, it's a kind of a wild card on the EP, but it has its place. So track 4 goes into a song that you guys would know by now, which is Again and Again, featuring Ryan Mark. And that song funnels kind of back into God's sovereignty, but also just recognizing that if he's brought you through things before, he'll do it again. And that's why that's part of how we can stay the course in the midst of changing seasons, because even though the seasons change, God doesn't change. So even though the situation might look bleak, and so, you know, when you think back to that point, you're at your lowest and God brought you through, what is going to stop him from doing it again? You know, so that one came out. And then track 5, which is the title track of the EP, is called I Did It Anyway. And it's my favorite. It is my favorite more because and God has a way of doing this. I've found that every time I've chosen a title track for a project, God has made me live out that testimony. And I did it anyway. It's just a testimony. Even the EP launch, there's so many doors I tried to knock on that just got shut on me. There's so many people that said, you know, it doesn't make no sense, yeah, keep something now, nobody don't remember you. Or people that say, you know, the industry has moved on, or there's just so much negative talk. And, you know, you have to be grounded to just say, I know what God has called me for, so I'm going to do it anyway. So that is the EP, I did it anyway. And again, it's if you circle it back, it is grounded in the fact that I know the God that I serve. So, you know, if he gives me a mandate to run, I'm just gonna do it. And even thinking about the reggae track I spoke about, some people might say it's controversial, you know, is that a gospel album? But I did it anyway. So, yeah, it all encompasses into that. And then the final track is a worship song. And I haven't done a worship song I think I've only done one worship song in my entire career. So this is really a rejuvenation, and I think it's a beautiful surprise on the EP as well. So it's a beautiful worship song. You know, God just dropped it in my spirit. I do it with a singer, but I wrote the song from start to finish. And, you know, it's just a song just saying, God, in all that I do, I worship you, you know. So, yeah.
I listen, I must say, just based on even you explaining everything right here, and you know, just listening to you and just following your journey over these years, I can already say that this project embodies your journey for real, you know. And I appreciate you for your obedience, you know, because I mean, it takes a bold step for you to say, yo, I did it anyway. You get what I'm saying? It takes a bold step to also say, all right, cool, yo, I'm gonna persevere in the midst of changing seasons, in the midst of, yo, as I said, people go said, people don't remember you, all them something there, but you have been so consistent, you know, and that's something beautiful about you, and I have to give you your flowers for that. So yeah, man, so thank you for, you know, your obedience on that, you know. And I mean, I personally, you know, have kind of, you know, skimmed through it and stuff, but like, even in terms of the actual worship song, I haven't finished it yet, But like, because I want to just marinate in it, I want to bask in it and stuff. But like, even when you were singing, I really just felt good to be able to just bask in the moment with you, and I just felt proud of you, and I just felt happy for you, right? And I just want to encourage you to continue pressing and pushing through. And so with that said, right, so one thing that's very real on life's journey, as we've been saying through this whole interview, is the fact that seasons change and stuff. But I want to know what one challenge that you have personally gone through and overcome as you are basically trying to maneuver these seasons.
I'm gonna be a bit I don't want to say controversial, but this is probably not the normal thought that people would use for stuff like this, but I'm going to say having children has been one of the biggest challenges for me. Not just as a father, but as an artist, things that used to take for granted. So for example, now if you ask me to do a promo video for you, it's not easy, and how about that time where you don't have the kids to interrupt or any crying or anything like that. It's really difficult. And even, I'll kid you not, I remember when I had my first son, and I have my son, he's just one son, but I remember, I probably was when my daughter was born, so I had Matthias and O'Shea, and I remember trying to write a song, and I was feeling good about the song. And then one time I listened to it and I hear one cartoon nursery rhyme. I said, wait, this sound like this song when I write. Because I'm so surrounded by always, playing nursery rhymes and whatever that when I ready to write my song now, and nursery rhymes are come up. Oh my God, what has happened to Minister Blessing? When I pop up on stage, people may say nursery rhymes, but so that was a real challenge for me to plug out from the constant fatherhood where you have to, because you get what I'm saying, them on the TV when so that was a challenge for me to just ask God to. So what I had to do basically is when I want to write songs, and so I had to make sure I was going on long journeys. So like if I was taking a trip on a plane for work, or if I'm going on a train and it's a 6-hour ride, so that when I have that downtime, I'm just that quiet, I have in my headphones and ride. But at home, no chance. So that has been a challenge for me. So again, that's not something people would probably necessarily speak about. You probably hear when they did suicidal or something, but trust me, being a parent is our only power. Daddy and mommy, sorry for all the work. Sorry for all this.
I mean, that actually caught me off guard because here I was ready to actually say, okay, cool, maybe the loneliness, maybe the whatever. That's very interesting, and you don't really think about it, as you said. I mean, maybe in your mind, like you'd think that, okay, cool, that kicks into motion when like an artist is on tour or something like that and trying to be present, but like just flowing in the creative process. That's very interesting, and I'm happy you were able to overcome that and give us some amazing songs and this body of work and all these things. But well, thank you for sharing that. And because I mean, there are lots of persons who would not have shared that because it would seem like you're talking against your children or parenthood, which you're not, but it's just a very real thing. Okay. Good. Right, I can imagine. And so with that said, as you press forward and learn to maneuver the different things, what would you say is one of the major things that like keeps you grounded in God overall?
I think for me, it really comes down to His track record. That's what it comes down to. And as you talk about, you mentioned the word loneliness. What led to again and again, what really led to again and again was I was in a situation where I felt like there was just no way out. There's nobody I could call on. When I was in Jamaica, my parents live 5 minutes up the road. Me have neighbors, me have friends. Over here, I don't really have much people. Like 2 people. And that's it. So, when I think about, if I'm in an emergency or, what am I going to do? And I was going through some stuff and I had nobody to turn to. And God really dropped it in my spirit and say, not to be cliche, but look at the birds of the air, you know, and the lilies and the field.
Yeah.
You know, them not work, and God still take care of them. So,
Right.
and then bringing me back to the amount of times He's come through for me. You know, when I migrated, I had no idea what was going to happen. I don't know if I was going to end up working a very menial job, or, you know, so, you know, for God to take me from where He's take me from, you know, just His track record. I'm just like, if He did it before, He'll do it again. You know, and even with the EP launch, you know, there's sometimes a thought of stepping back and not bother going forward. I'm like, you know, God has already allowed me to release 4 albums and an EP. I've already done events before, so, you know, if He's carried me through those, even in the hard times, He'll do it.
Yeah. That's beautiful and that's profound, you know. And I mean, on that same vein, generally, I want you to tell me what you would tell someone who feels like, because the season has changed, and because, like, maybe, you know, this season darker than the last one, is like, you know, it seems like they're in this endless cycle or something like that. What would you tell someone who feels like they can no longer really make an impact for God's glory because the season has changed, and like maybe that season just looked dark, all them something there?
The funny thing about, or the ironic thing about God is that it's when you're at your lowest that's when He can come through the best. You know, when His strength is made perfect in our time of weakness. And even with this EP, part of what I wanted to do as well was to encourage some of my brothers, some of my sisters who probably started doing music around the same time as me, or before or after, and because of certain seasons in their life and stuff, they've decided, you know, it don't make no sense anymore. And I really have a strong feeling that God, you know, is not done with you yet, brother. He's not done with you yet. You know, so yeah, you may have gone through these seasons that felt really difficult and stuff, but I'm also trying to be that living testimony. I've probably gone through so many different things, and to be able to come back out and launch something and put that back on the map through Minister Blessed. I do it, so can you. So this is for me, it's not about me. You know, you talk about legacy and trying to be a living example and a living testimony for others as well. So part of this, you know, I look at it even on creatives, and not just a normal person.
Right.
You know, someone who has, you know, a burden for whether it's writing a book or doing a podcast, or, you know, you just you have your ministry, and, you know, you go through a season and you kind of feel like there are so many others doing it as well. So, you know, what's the point? And I think God has a space for every single one of us. There's a space for every single one of us in the
Yep.
You know, so you might not feel like you're gonna make a big impact, but do it anyway.
Okay. Yeah, but exactly that, you know, and I really am happy that you're encouraged person to do that, because as you said, like, it almost feels like the industry and the creative space is saturated, but the truth is the Lord made only one you. So there must be a reason He's leading you to make to do this, and to do this for His glory and stuff, because maybe you can reach that one person, you know, in that certain way, you know. And yeah, so like follow through in the midst of whichever season it is. You know, sometimes it might be harder to show up than others, but yo, God, you're living to please God, isn't it? So I love that. And so with that said, I mean, I really, boy, I just feel like this theme was the right one for you. Not going to lie. Like, yeah, I get it. It just feels like you embody this, and you know, thank you again for your obedience and your vulnerability. So before we go, I wanted to know, like, did you have any messages to, you know, persons who would have been at the launch? Any message that you want to say to them, or persons who, you know, would have already started listening to the EP, or like, do you want to say anything to them, or just generally, like, we know?
Well, obviously, I just want to say thanks for coming out, and for those who, you know, several people couldn't physically come because they live overseas, etc. But, you know, I know they're streaming online, etc. So just thank you for supporting the ministry. Thank you for supporting the ministry, and I just want, as you listen to these songs, to take the practical advices that are in there, because there's some real practical advice in there, but also recognizing that, you know, you can't do it not by yourself. You know, we need each other and we need God, basically.
Yeah, love that. Wow, that was all right. that was fabulous. Thank you. Yeah, and fully endorsed 100%. And I mean, here at PAJE, we continue to support your journey. We continue to just look out for everything that you're doing, because we definitely see you as a light in this industry, and just shining for God's glory. And we love you, you see me? So yeah, man, keep doing what you're doing, and thank you for being a guest on Purposed Audacity. Alrighty,
And thank you, PAJE.
all right.
Featured me.
No problem. Anytime, just link us up and thing. All right. So with that said, guys, we have come to the end of another episode. And I mean, we truly hope that you were impacted by, you know, the profound words that Minister Blessed had to share about his journey, and, you know, also the encouragement to listen to the songs. They're not just, you know, nice pieces of music put together on like something, you know, to put to the side. Like, it's practical daily advice, as he's saying. And we just pray that, you know, you take them into account, and of course look to God, who is the source of all things. So with that said, thank you once more, and we will see you next time on Purposed Audacity. Bye.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Charmian Marie.
And we're the Beatles. Join us weekly. Let's talk about purpose, faith, and expression.
This is Purposed Audacity. Thanks for joining us.